For those who were unable to join us, we will be recording this webinar and posting it on social media. We also are live on Facebook this morning. So welcome everyone to the 6 steps to building a stronger, more profitable business that can work without you. My name is Coach Tim Campsell, and I'd like to welcome you this morning or this afternoon or this evening, depending on where you're located. Being in business is a tough gig sometimes. It's one of the loneliest there is. So I want to first thank all of you for registering for this webinar to find out what business coaching is and how to grow your business. There are 6 steps to growing your business that we teach at ActionCOACH, and we find that by doing it this way, a systematic methodology, which, by the way, we've been doing for over 26 years, has helped tens of thousands of companies. So, how many of you have made mistakes in your life? Go ahead and just give a thumbs up or raise your hand, even though I may not be able to see you, and many of you may be watching the recorded version. Find that if you participate and follow along with the questions, you get more out of the experience. So go ahead, if you've made mistakes in your life, raise your hand. How many of you would say that you're experts at making mistakes? Yeah, for me, I have to raise both hands and sometimes even a leg. But here's the thing. We learn to walk by falling down, right? We made lots of mistakes, but we're given encouragement and support and help. And all we knew is that we were doing exactly what we were supposed to be doing because of the love that was poured into us. So what happens when we become adults? We're taught that we can't fail, right? So we stop putting ourselves out there. I guarantee you will learn specific steps, ideas, and strategies to help you stop making mistakes in your business and be a better business leader. But here's the catch. You must choose to put yourself out there and take action. If you simply sit and listen to this webinar, you'll absorb about 7% of the information. If you take notes, that absorption rate goes up to 50%. And if you participate, i.e. you write in different colors to draw on both your left and right hand side of your brain, if you raise your hand when I ask you to participate, or you respond to questions when I ask, that absorption rate goes up to 98%. So the only failure is the failure to what? Call this out for me. Yeah, the failure to participate. So if you give 100%, then you're going to get 100%. At the end of this webinar, I'm going to ask you to take action, and I'm going to present you with an offer that you're going to want to take advantage of. So can I get everyone's commitment that you're going to participate and take action today? Again, just go ahead and raise your hand, even though I may not be able to see you. Fantastic. Thank you. Okay, a little bit about my background. I was born and raised in Canada and moved to the US in 2005. I started working at the age of 15 running a local gas station where I opened the store on the weekend at 6 a.m. while the owner slept in. Then for the past 28 years, I've had a very successful career of managing businesses and coaching teams within corporations. I've had many different experiences on businesses I think you all know well, like Kentucky Fried Chicken, Raid, Off, Ziploc, Saran Wrap, Edge and Skintimate Shave Gel, Scrubbing Bubbles, Pledge, Fantastic, Sargento Cheese, and Red Gold Tomatoes. These businesses ranged from 1.5 million in revenue to over 500 million. In that same time, I've coached, trained, taught, and mentored well over 200 people. People I've coached have gone on to become vice presidents, presidents, and even a CEO of corporations both here and in Canada. A little bit about my why. This is my family. So on the far left, Tony is 24 and lives in Milwaukee, along with Enrique. Next to him is also in Milwaukee. He's 19. My beautiful wife there in the middle is Petrita. And in the front is our little guy who keeps reminding us that he is no longer little because he just turned 13. And his name is Adrian. I've chased my career over the past 10 years, which has required me to move frequently and has had a negative impact on my family. My wife is in a 100% commission sales career, so when we move, it takes her 3 to 4 years to rebuild her business, and I've been moving us every 3 to 4 years, which has hurt her career. This, coupled with the fact that corporations have been focusing less on employees and more on profit, led me to realize this life was no longer a fit for me and my family. Additionally, I grew up teased for not having brand names because my parents could not afford them. Then my dad got hurt at work and was unable to work, so things were tough. As a result, I've always wanted to help others. I was a peer counselor in high school and a lay counselor at church. I was a big brother for a number of years. And my number one priority at work has always been to coach and mentor folks. My passion is to help others become all that they can be. So, with my business experience and my desire to help others, it was a natural fit to become a business coach, as I know there's many business owners who could benefit from my help. I chose Action Coach because I believe it's the best option to help me realize my vision, which is that no business owner in Indiana would be without a coach. They would not feel isolated, frustrated, or hopeless. Instead, they would invest in allowing me to take them on an incredible journey of building their business so that they can use the profits from the business to enable them to realize their life dreams. A little bit about Action Coach. It is privately owned and founded by Brad Sugars, who is an entrepreneur and author. Our vision at Action Coach is to create world abundance through business re-education. What that means is that there are so many businesses that don't run well, that aren't implementing best practices, that for those who take the time to re-educate themselves on how to run a great business, the sky is the limit. Really, abundance is available to them because of the fact that they know how to run a great business. We coach over 15,000 businesses each week around the world. We are the number one business coaching firm in the world, and here are a number of accolades to support that. And we've got 1,000 offices in 80 countries around the world, and here's an illustration of those different countries. So my job as a business coach is to help business owners make a lot of money. It's about helping you as a business owner improve your business so that you can work less and make more, which ultimately sounds too good to be true. And the reality is that it would be too good to be true if we haven't done it with tens of thousands of businesses around the world. The system is not based on theory, it's based on practical experience with real businesses achieving real results. So I'm going to reward you for your time investment today by teaching you ways to increase sales and profits, to free up your time, and to create an amazing team. So before we jump into the meat of the program, I want you to write down your number one learning goal for this webinar. So please go ahead and write that down on a piece of paper, and then we'll keep going. Okay, so what you just did by writing down your goal is you triggered your reticular activating system. So how many of you have had an experience of buying a car, and then as you're driving around the next week, you notice that everyone on the road seems to have the same car? Yeah, that's your reticular activating system, or your RAS for short. It's the part of your brainstem that controls your level of consciousness. It is incredibly powerful. Our subconscious spends all day working in the background to achieve the things that we tell it that are important. So, when we set goals, we give our subconscious specific direction on what to work on for us. So, have you ever had an experience where you couldn't solve a problem all day, but after a good night's sleep, the answer seems to come to you in the morning? That's your reticular activating system working on your behalf. So, goals are critical in all that we do. To be successful as a business owner, you must have yearly, quarterly, monthly, weekly, and daily goals. So, by writing down your goal just a couple minutes ago, you're now triggering your reticular activating system to pay attention throughout this webinar to solve that goal for you. Your reticular activating system really is your compass for your brain, and your goals set that compass. Okay, so how many people have heard the saying, if at first you don't succeed, try again? Most people say they will try, but you can't try. You either do it or you don't. Trying is not an action. You can't try. We call this idea of doing or not doing the point of power, and you're either above or below the point. Below the point, people do three things. What do? Call out the first one here for me. Yes, they blame. And who do people blame? Anyone they possibly can. The government, their mother-in-law, their staff, their competition. Everyone do this for me. Raise your hand and point your finger at me as if you're blaming me. Like this. So, how many fingers on your hand are pointing back at you? 3. Isn't that interesting? So what does that say about who had the bigger control over that situation? The next thing people do below the point of power is what? Call that out for me. Yeah, they make excuses. How many of you know kids that are experts at giving excuses? And I wonder where they learned that from, right? The last thing people do below the point of power is live in a state of denial. These people think that they're rock stars, but they're toxic and need to be removed from the organization. Notice that blame, excuses, and denial can be summed up as bed. Those people stay trapped in the proverbial bed of life. Now, above the point of power, notice that ownership, accountability, and responsibility can be summed up as or. So people take the or of life and chart their own course. They do this by being responsible for the situations they find themselves in, being accountable for the decisions that they make and the circumstances that they're in, and taking ownership for those situations. So you can either choose to be powerless, living below the point of power, or powerful, living above the point of power. Nobody else has this control over you. It's your daily choice. So, can I get an agreement that everyone's willing to play above the point of power, at least for today? Fantastic. Thank you. Now, even when we know about the point of power and being below and above the point of power, and we've made a decision that we're going to live above the point of power, there's going to be times where we're not perfect. And I remember one day I was in a meeting and became very frustrated with a comment that was made. I excused myself from the meeting, walked to my office, packed up my stuff, went out to my car, and started driving home. And then as I was driving home, I started reflecting on, how was I gonna explain this to my wife? And I decided that that wasn't gonna go over well, so I did a U-turn, went back to work, walked back into the office with my tail between my legs, and excused myself for stepping out. And fortunately, I was able to keep my job. So my point of sharing that is that we're not going to be perfect. We're going to find ourselves dipping below the point of power. The important thing is to realize when that happens and then make the best next decision to get back above the point of power. We may not always be able to do that on our own. We may have to have people in our life to point out those things for us, whether that's a coach, an accountability partner, our spouse, a significant other, a best friend. We want to make sure we surround ourselves with people that help pull us out of being powerless. So, a little bit about learning. Anyone know teenage kids who are experts at saying I know? Yeah, we remind them about something that we know that they always forget, right? We tell them to not to forget to do something. And the first thing they say is, yeah, I know, even though they always forget, right? Well, when we become older, we get a little bit more polite about saying I know. Right? We may cross our arms in a meeting. We may say to ourselves under our breath, yeah, I know, or we may roll our eyes when we think nobody's watching. This approach of saying I know, though, kills the possibility that maybe you can learn something from the conversation or the discussion. Right? By saying I know, you're telling your reticular activating system that there's no value in this interaction and that it should shut down and go and work on the other things that you told it that was important. So instead of saying, I know, can I get everyone's agreement that you're going to treat all situations as totally new experiences and keep your mind open to the possibilities of learning? Fantastic. So instead of saying, I know, let's replace it with something like, isn't that interesting? Let's keep our RAS open to continuing to learn the nuances and idiosyncrasies of every conversation that we're in, because we will walk away with information that we didn't know that's going to be beneficial to us. And to make sure that you get the most out of your learning, you must be willing to do some what? Call this out for me. You must be willing to have some fun. Absolutely. Now, here's the reason, right? We all know business is hard, right? So it's important to build in times of fun and celebration to allow ourselves to stay encouraged and motivated. Too many businesses make the mistake of waiting to the end of the year to achieve the big yearly goal before they celebrate. And what happens there is it's just too long, right? It's too long to wait and to have the hardships of running a business. So instead, look at ways to have daily or weekly celebrations. What things can you pause on a daily basis and just celebrate that little win? Right? Give yourself some encouragement and some motivation, and as well celebrate with the team and get them rallied and pumped up and inspired. For us, my family and I, we do a weekly celebration of pizza and movie night on Fridays. And that's our way to celebrate the end of the week and transition into the weekend and just have some good family time together. So think about what your wins are and start to incorporate those into your business. So let's think about your business. There are two types of businesses in general. One's where the business is driving the business owner and them having their hand in all the day-to-day activities. All decisions need to be made by them. No one can do the job as well as them, and they're working 60, 70, or 80 hours a week. The other type is where the business owner is driving the business. They have a team that takes care of the day-to-day, and things are run very smoothly, and the owner is able to duck out early to see their kids in a school activity or have a 4-day weekend or take 2 weeks off for vacation without worry. So how many of you know people who have given up running their business to go back to a job because they just got burnt out? Unfortunately, most business owners have actually really only bought themselves a job. And in this job, they're working more hours and making less money than when they worked for someone else. And over time, this leads to burnout. And there's too many businesses that go out of business. In fact, the numbers are about 80% of businesses that started this year will be out of business in 5 years from now. And the number one reason for that is burnout. So our goal is to move beyond being self-employed and climbing up the entrepreneurial ladder. So we all started as working for someone else as an employee. When we first go into business for ourselves, like I said earlier, we've just simply bought ourselves a job or we've become self-employed. The goal over time is to move up to become a manager where we have hired people to take over some parts of the business, to a business owner where the business is running without us, to an investor where we've got passive income from a business and we're able to start investing it into another business or into the stock market, etc., to a true entrepreneur where we've got multiple businesses or multiple streams of passive income. Right now, I'm at the self-employed level. Right, I'm a solopreneur, having started my business recently, and my goal over time is to move up this entrepreneurial ladder as well to becoming a business owner and beyond. So the way to get there is to understand the formula for change. The formula for change is D times V plus F must be greater than R. Let me define this for you. So D is dissatisfaction with our current situation. We must have enough dissatisfaction with where things are today to motivate us to want to change. Times V, which is a vision of a better tomorrow. Right? What might our business look like tomorrow? What might our personal life look like tomorrow if we were able to change the way that our business is? F is first steps. So we must have an understanding of what steps to take to change the way that our business is today or the way that our life is today. And R is resistance. So we naturally have a resistance to change. We like the status quo, we like our comfort zone. And so whenever we find ourselves not changing, we need to reflect on this formula and say, hey, are we not dissatisfied enough? And maybe we have to dig in and spend some time really understanding our dissatisfaction and get that motivation to change. Or maybe we don't have a clear vision of what a better tomorrow could look like. Or maybe we just simply don't know what to do next. So I'd like to congratulate you all for making a first step by being here and watching this webinar so that you can learn what those first steps are in order to change and overcome that resistance to change. So at Action Coach, we define a business differently. It's not about buying ourselves a job. It's about becoming a business owner of a successful business. And we define a successful business as a commercial profitable enterprise that works without you, the business owner. We have a methodology to build a successful business called the 6 steps, and I'll walk through those now. Step 1, call that one out for me, please. Yes, mastery. What is mastery? How do you know when you're a master at something? Well, someone comes and asks you to teach them how to do it. But here's the problem. When people start a business, are they a master at running a business? No, they're a master at carpentry or baking or engineering or a master of being an accountant or a lawyer or whatever. So instead, you need to become a master at running a business. This is all about eliminating the day-to-day chaos. Step 2, call that out for me. You must have your own what? Yeah, a niche or a niche, however you want to pronounce it. How do you know that you don't have a niche in the marketplace? It's because you compete on price. The day you compete on price, you do not have a niche. So this is all about marketing to bring in a predictable cash flow. Step 3, what is it? Yes, leverage. The key to leverage in business is systems. So it will be up to everyone to help systematize the company. This will buy us back our time by becoming more efficient. Then we build a team, then we hit synergy, and ultimately we get to results. That's the 6 steps that we need to get massive results and grow. But here's my challenge with that. Do you think the average business is missing 1 or 2 of these? Yes, absolutely they are. So now I'm going to go into each step in a little bit more detail. So step 1 is mastery. And if we go back to that definition of a commercial profitable enterprise that works without you, the business owner, mastery is all about creating a commercial enterprise. And there's 4 areas to mastery that we need to focus on. The first is destination mastery. This is all about having a very clear understanding of the vision of your organization. What's the overall purpose of your company existing? What's the greater good that you're providing in the marketplace? And what are your long-term goals? When is the business going to be finished? And what's the revenue and the profit goals and the organization chart of that business when it's done? I've got one client who defined their business being done as a $1 million business in 5 years from now. And so from that, we work backwards and say, okay, well, what does that look like in 3 years from now and 2 years and 1 year and quarterly and monthly? And now we're able to track progress against hitting those goals. Second is money mastery. This is all about having a very solid understanding of your financials. Things like a monthly profit and loss or income statement, a monthly balance sheet, doing cash flow projections out 4, 8, 12 weeks, depending on what your business cycle is. It's about looking at your numbers at least on a monthly basis and really understanding what it means so that you can make really great, solid business decisions based on your financials. I have one client who, when we first started working together, they told me, hey, I just give all of my information to my accountant at the end of the year, and I pray that I'm profitable. So that is certainly not the best way to manage the business. So now we're putting these processes in place so that they have a better understanding of their financials on a monthly basis. The third area is time mastery. This is about knowing where you're spending your time and being strategic about the investment of your time, ensuring that you've got a good balance of working on the business as well as working in the business, and that you're continuing to delegate or outsource activities that doesn't make sense for you to be spending your time on. So, for example, right, we would do a time study when you become a client, and I then do an analysis of that time study and point out things where, for example, I'll say, hey, what are these 5 hours a week that you're doing? And you may say, oh, that's an administrative role. And I say, how much does that cost if you were to pay someone to do it? And you may say $15 an hour. And I ask you what your bill rate is, and you say $100 an hour. So then it's interesting, right, that you're spending 5 hours a week on a $15 job when you could be making $100. So you're losing $85 an hour times 5 hours a week. So isn't that interesting? That you could be freeing up that time and making more money by paying someone else to do that work for you. And then finally, delivery mastery. This is about ensuring that you are meeting and beating your customer expectations, and that you've got a clear mechanism in place to get ongoing feedback so that you, in fact, do know that you're meeting those expectations. Most business owners I talk to say, well, of course I'm meeting their expectations, or they wouldn't keep buying from me. Well, here's the thing. Most people aren't going to tell you they're dissatisfied. They're just going to tell you when they fired you. So if they're unhappy, they're probably looking around and trying to find a better option, and they're not going to let you know that. So you want to be proactive and understand that up front so that you can be fixing it before you start focusing on your marketing and sales activities. So you don't want to be bringing more people into your business and not be satisfying them. So then we move to step 2 here. What is step 2? Call that one out for me, please. Yes, a niche. So back to our definition, we now are focused on building a commercial profitable enterprise. And the reason that we're working on profitability, or the focus here is on profitability, is because we're not going to have price competition. So how do you know if you have a niche? It's when you're not competing on price. If the only reason your company exists is because you're offering the best price, you're setting yourself up for bankruptcy. The reason that you're setting yourself up for bankruptcy is someone bigger than you is always going to be willing to undercut you to steal share, and then it simply becomes a death spiral to the bottom. I know there's a lot of concern about raising prices, but how many of you have had customers tell you that they purchase on price? This is simply not true. Most people just are too nice to tell you the truth, so they go with price because it's a safe answer. Every survey conducted puts price at about 10% of the reason people buy, with service and liking the salesperson coming much higher on the list. So if you focus on providing great service and you focus on having outstanding salespeople, then you're going to be able to raise your price, and your customers are not going to care. They're going to continue to buy from you. So a couple areas that we focus on in terms of creating your niche. The first is by coming up with your unique selling proposition. Your unique selling proposition is what differentiates you from your competitors. It's what makes you stand out and be unique versus your competitors, so that you're able to charge the price that you need to have a sustainable business model. So if you don't have a unique selling proposition, I would write that down as a takeaway today, a homework for you to be working on, to come up with what is it that makes you different and unique from your competition, so that you don't have to be competing on price. Another area to focus on in a niche is coming up with a guarantee. So look at your business and determine what is the biggest barrier for people to buy from you, and then put a guarantee in place that overcomes that reservation. So for example, at in my business, the biggest reservation for people investing in me as their business coach is a concern that they're not going to get a return on the investment, that it's not going to work. So we have a guarantee. I guarantee that within one-on-one coaching, that the business will grow enough to pay for my fees, or I'll keep working for free until it does. So I overcome the biggest hurdle of people hiring me and investing in me as their business coach by guaranteeing results. So think about in your business, what guarantee that can you offer? Now, I've heard some folks say, Tim, I really don't know what my unique guarantee or what the barrier to purchasing is that I could overcome, and I'm kind of stuck. So my suggestion there is just look at something in your industry that you have to provide legally, and then just guarantee that you're going to provide that. Chances are you're the only one making that guarantee, so it helps provide a point of difference of your business versus your competitors. The other thing that we do in niche is sales and marketing activities. And within that, we want to make sure that we are testing and measuring everything that we do. If we're not able to test and measure an activity, a marketing or a sales activity, then there's no point in running it because there's no way for us to know if it's working or not. So unfortunately, I had a client who spent their entire month's budget on something that didn't work. And even worse, they signed up for a multiple month contract. And so our approach is, instead of putting all of your eggs in one basket, we want you to come up with 10 different marketing strategies that account for about 10% of your leads, and start small first, right? Invest a little bit and test it and measure it and see if it works. And then if you determine that it does have a positive return on investment, then you can invest more in later months. So the other thing, like I said, in the niche is marketing and sales, and we use an ActionCOACH tool called the 5 Ways to Massive Profits. So let me explain this in a little bit more detail. Most business owners know how many customers they have, what their revenue is, and how much profit they make. And which one of these do you think is most important? Generally, the feedback I get, or the answer to this question, is different people pick one of each of the three. Well, this was actually a trick question because none of these are the most important. The reason for that is they're just results. You can't go out tomorrow and get another customer. You can't improve your revenue tomorrow, and you can't increase your profit tomorrow because they're the results of other activities. So this is where it gets really exciting. The 5 ways to massive profits formula is number of leads times conversion rate equals customers, times number of transactions times average dollar sale equals revenue, times profit margins equals profit. So I'm going to walk through this with some numbers to give some context, and then I'll explain what each of these are. So number of leads. These are the number of people who have come through your marketing funnel to the point where they've said, hey, I am your marketing and sales funnel, I should say, to the point where they say, hey, I'm interested in a proposal from you. So in this example, there were 4,000 leads or 4,000 people who were ready to buy. They asked for a proposal, or they asked you how much that thing was in your store. Conversion rate, that's the percentage of your leads who actually become customers. So in this example, it was 25%. So 4,000 leads times 25% conversion rate equals 1,000 customers. Okay, does that make sense? All right. Now, number of transactions. This is the average number of transactions that each of those 1,000 customers, how many times they buy from you in a year. Right? So some customers will only buy 1 time a year. Some customers may buy 6, 7, 8, 9 times a year. But on average, how many times a year do they buy from you? So in this example, they buy 2 times a year. Okay. Average dollar sale. This is how much money the customer spends each time they buy from you. So again, some customers may only spend $10, some customers may spend $1,000, but on average, how much do they spend with you each time? So in this example, they spent $100. So 1,000 customers times 2 transactions times $100 equals $200,000 in revenue. Profit margin, how much of that revenue ends up going to the bottom line? So in this example, the profit margin is 25%. So 200,000 in revenue times 25% profit margin equals $50,000. So here's where the exciting part comes in. Most businesses do not look at their business this way. And on average, we see that by simply implementing this tracker into your business, our clients see a 10% increase in each of those 5 areas, those blue areas, over the next 12 months. So, show of hands, how many of you guys are tracking your business this way? How many of you know your numbers in this much detail? Yeah. So don't feel bad. Most don't. But here's the great thing. When you start tracking it, you're going to see immediate results, because by simply tracking something, you're activating your reticular activating system, right, to start paying attention to it. And that's where that average of a 10% improvement comes over 12 months, because what gets measured gets focused on. And when you see the numbers, you start improving them. On top of that, when you become a client, when we start working together, we've got over 350 strategies across these 5 ways that we give to you as a homework assignment to determine 2 or 3 areas that you want to focus on over the next 12 months. So we're going to come back to this after I go through the rest of the 6 steps to show how impactful implementing these 6 steps can be on your business over a 12-month period. So then step 3, what is step 3? Call this one out for me. Yes, it's leverage. So coming back to our definition, we now are focusing on a commercial profitable enterprise that works. And the reason that it works is because leverage is all about systems. System stands for saving yourself time, energy, and money. And there's 9 steps to systematizing your business. The goal here is to work on your business to become more efficient and effective. So the first area is having a vision statement. What is the purpose of your organization? What's the greater good that it is providing? What is the thing that inspires and motivates you every day to jump out of bed and go to work? And therefore, what is that can be used to also inspire and motivate your team. Most businesses don't have a true vision statement, an inspiring and a motivating purpose of their organization. So that's step 1. After that, you then want to have a clear mission statement. This is the how you're providing, how your business is specifically operating in order to achieve that greater purpose or that vision. Step 3 is having a culture statement. What are the values and the beliefs of your organization? What's the culture that you want to create within your company, and therefore have everybody living within that culture? Next, you need to have SMART goals. Specific, measurable, obtainable, results-oriented with a time frame. If you don't have goals, then you don't have a direction, right? You don't have anything. You don't have a North Star. You don't have a compass in order to be working towards. Next, you want to have an organization chart of what does your company look like when it's done? What are all the positions that are going to be required in order for your business to get to the final stage, so that as your company grows and you need to hire the next person, you've already done the work ahead of time to know what that next person is. And you don't have to be wasting time during the accelerated growth phase to try to figure that out. Each of those positions within your organization chart should have positional contracts. What is everybody's role and responsibility, and how are they going to be held accountable to those roles and responsibilities? Every position in the company should have key performance indicators. What is expected from them every week? How are they going to be measured and determine whether they're being successful or not? Those key performance indicators should tie back to your SMART goals. Then you need to have how-to systems. For everything that's done in the organization, there needs to be an explanation of how to do that job or that process as best as possible. Right? So best practices of, it could be a how-to video. It could be a documentation on paper, could be a training manual or a onboarding manual. Different things without throughout the organization need to have an explanation of how to do it in a best practice format, so that if somebody leaves, it's easy to train someone else to do the job. And if you've come up with best practices, it eliminates everybody doing a trial and error, because they simply can follow the best practice, which makes them much more efficient and effective. And then finally, you need to have an overall management system. How are you going to run your organization? What are the rules? What are the processes? What are the procedures and the disciplines and the structures? And how many times are you going to have meetings? And what do performance reviews look like, et cetera, et cetera. So then we move up to team. And back to our definition, team is about creating a commercial, profitable enterprise that works without you. It works without you because you now have a team in place that's able to take care of the day-to-day. So as your coach, I help you build your team. In most companies, that the owner tries to run all of these things, right? They've got their hand in every aspect of the business. They're juggling the day-to-day, right? They're trying to manage everything, right? And what ends up happening is they're just not doing anything well, because they're trying to do everything. And as the business grows, it just becomes too much for the owner to be able to manage on their own. So the focus becomes on the owner focusing on the strategic direction of the organization and taking care of the team. If the team is taken care of, they will take care of the customers. The customers are taken care of, the customers will take care of the business by repeat business and referrals, and then the business will take care of the owner by the profits that the business brings in. But here's the key. Okay? You need to focus on building the right team that is able to take over the day-to-day. People that will step up and manage the business on your behalf. The mistake most businesses make is that they hire based on skills and experiences, and what they end up doing is attracting people who are only working for a paycheck. So our focus here is to make sure that we get the right people on the bus and they're sitting in the right seat on the bus. We get the right people on the bus by focusing on recruiting and hiring based on people who are aligned to our vision, right? That purpose, that greater good that we're providing in the marketplace, and they're aligned to our culture, our values, and our beliefs. If we get people who are aligned to our vision and our culture, we have the right people on the bus, and they're no longer working just for a paycheck. They're working because they believe in what we're doing and they want to be part of it. Then step two is then we focus on, are they sitting in the right seat on the bus? Meaning we focus on their skills and experiences and whether that's a fit to our organization. But here's the thing. Skills can be taught. Experience can be gained. A culture fit and a vision fit isn't as easily trained and taught. So we want to make sure that we're focusing much more time on that aspect of our recruiting and our interviewing than on skills and experiences. So we've got an interview process where we flip everything upside down. We call it a deselection process, where we put much more ownership on the candidate to prove to us that they believe in our organization and they want to work for our organization for the right reasons, not just for a paycheck. And we make the interview process way more efficient so that you get back more of your time and you're not wasting as much time in all of the pre-screening process of the interview. So then we move up to step 5, which is synergy. This is when everything seems to be clicking in your business. You can begin strategizing on your next stage of entrepreneurial activity. The business becomes a well-oiled machine. Right? And ultimately, the goal is to get up to results. Right? When we get that well-oiled machine in place, you start to have passive income from this business, and you can start to decide what you want to do with that passive income. Maybe you want to expand the business. Maybe you want to open another location. Maybe you want to start another business or buy another business or invest in real estate or the stock market. You're at this level at Synergy, you're starting to realize the freedom and flexibility and wealth that you went into business for in the first place. Right? You're getting to that investor level of the entrepreneurial ladder, and you're able to start reaping the rewards of your business and start investing in other businesses or in the stock market or in real estate to really get to that results level where you're truly an entrepreneur, where you've got multiple streams of passive income and you're not tied to the business. You're able to go off on a month vacation, right, without worry, because all of your businesses are running without you. So you truly have the freedom and flexibility that you went into business for in the first place. So these are the 6 steps to massive results. And remember that to achieve massive results, you must take massive action. So let's revisit our little business that I shared with you earlier. If you remember, here are the numbers that I shared. And now what I'd like to do is show you the impact of implementing the 6 steps over the next 12 months. So remember, I said just by putting this tracker in place and starting to track your numbers over a 12-month period, we see an average increase of 10% across each of those 5 areas of leads, conversion, number of transactions, average dollar sale, and profit margin. On top of that, remember earlier I mentioned the fact that we have over 350 strategies in each area in order to improve the business. And as homework, I have you look at that and determine 2 or 3 that you want to implement over the coming 12 months. So let's look at just getting a 10% increase in each of those line items. So number of leads. So let's say one of those strategies that we put in place is to reach out to our existing customers who we know are satisfied with our service and ask them for a referral or a recommendation. That's one strategy to improve our number of leads. So if we were to get a 10% increase in number of leads, we'd go from 4,000 to 4,400. Okay? Conversion rate. A strategy that we can use here is reach out to our satisfied customers and ask them for a testimonial or a referral, or not a referral, a rating on Google reviews, a review on one of our platforms. We can then use that positive feedback with new prospects or new leads, right, to convince them that it's in their best interest to end up hiring us for their work. So in this example, if we were to raise our conversion rate by 10%, it would go from 25 to 27.5. So notice that's a 10% increase, not a 10-point increase. Okay? So 4,400 leads times 27.5 conversion rate equals 1,210 customers. All right, number of transactions. One way to improve this is to pre-book customers. So if you think of a model where, let's look at a hair salon as an example. All of us probably know how often we should get our hair cut. So for me, it's about every 4 weeks. And right now, during the pandemic, it's been way longer than 4 weeks. And I'm having a lot of problems controlling all of my flyers here. But I don't always go back every 4 weeks. Sometimes it's 5 weeks, right? Sometimes it slips to 6 weeks. And so if the salon was to pre-book my next appointment and lock it into my calendar and then send me a reminder and get me to come in every 4 weeks, they're going to improve the number of transactions that they have, how many times a year I buy from them, because I'm not slipping. So if we were to improve the transactions here by 10%, it would go from 2 to 2.2. Average dollar sale. a strategy here to improve average dollar sale. Think of McDonald's. What is it that the cashier says to you after you place your order? Yeah, would you like fries with that? Or would you like a drink with that? They are upselling you. So think about in your business, what can you add on to every sale that you make? Right? Some percentage of every customer is going to say yes. So if you're not currently upselling or add-on selling, then you're leaving money on the table and missing out on an opportunity. So think through, what is your upsell opportunity, and start to implement that right away. So in this example, if we were to improve our average dollar sale by 10%, we'd go from 100 to 110. So then 1,210 customers times 2.2 transactions times $110 in sales equals $292,820. Profit margins. The easiest strategy to improve profit margin is to increase your prices. And as I mentioned earlier, so many people are concerned about increasing their prices that they just won't do it. But here's the thing. We've done numerous tests with clients that show that by taking a 10% increase, the profit improvement far outweighs any potential loss of customers. Generally speaking, what happens is the customers who are our most troublesome, most bothersome, most pains in our butt are the ones that leave with the price increase because they were only buying from us based on price. And so we get rid of our D customers, the problem customers, we make more profit, and we free up capacity to bring on more profitable customers. So if we were to take a price increase and improve our margins by 10%, we'd go from 25% to 27.5%. Again, notice it's a 10% increase, not a 10-point increase. Okay, so revenue of $292,820 times 27.5% is a profit of $80,525. So here's the real fun part. Our customers went up by 21%, our revenue went up by 46%, and our profit went up by 61%. The reason for that is the multiplier effect. So remember that the formula is all multiplication. So any changes that we make at the top of the formula have a multiplier effect all the way down to profit. So the more leads that we have, right, is going to have a multiplier effect versus making a profit improvement. Okay, so let's look at what this would look like if we continue to implement a modest 10% improvement in each of those 5 areas over the next 5 years. Okay, so in year 2, our profit would go up 159% versus the $50,000 of the starting point. If we were to implement the 10% increase in each of those 5 areas in year 3, our profit would go up 317%. In year 4, would go up 571%. In year 5, look at this, customers go up 159%, revenue goes up 573%, and profit goes up a whopping 983%. So as a show of hands, how many people would like to see an almost 1,000% increase in profit over the next 5 years? Look at that, almost $500,000 in profit. So remember back to my guarantee earlier, I said that your business will improve enough to pay for my fees, or I keep working for free until it does. So look at, even in year 1, that $30,000 profit improvement is more than enough to pay for my fees. And so imagine, right, you continue working with me over the next 5 years and you get almost a $500,000 improvement in profit, which is significantly more than my coaching fees. So well worth the investment to make this kind of improvement on your business. So I'm going to end with a couple of quotes to wrap up this webinar. And then if people have questions, please go ahead and type it in the chat box, and I'll answer those at the end of this webinar. So A quote from Richard Branson. He says, if you can learn to run one business successfully, then there's no reason you can't run any number of businesses at the same time because the principles are still the same. So think about that in terms of the two models that I just took you through. The 6 steps to building a better business and the 5 ways to massive profits. Once you understand those and get comfortable implementing those into your business, then you become an expert, and there's no reason that you can't replicate that in business 2 or 3 or 4 or beyond. It becomes the chassis of running any business. And we, like I said earlier, we work with over 15,000 businesses a week around the world. And these 2 methodologies work in every industry and get results even beyond what I just walked you through. Jim Rohn, he says that you should never wish your life were easier, wish that you were better. He says that you should work harder on yourself than you do on your job. So we have a formula for success at ActionCOACH called BE times do, DO equals have. So we all want to have things in life. And in order to get those things, there are stuff that we're going to have to do in our job in order for or in our business to provide for those things that we want to have in life. Those of us who have started our own business believe that owning a business is able to provide for the things that we want to have in life much better than by working for someone else. And again, generally speaking, the things that we want to have in life is freedom, flexibility, and wealth. So in order to have freedom and flexibility and wealth, we need to do certain things in our business for it to be successful, to be able to provide for the money to have and the freedom and flexibility to have those things we want in life. But here's where the problem comes. I mentioned earlier that we end up working longer, but we all have a limited amount of time in a day that we can work, right? So we can't, at some point in time, our business is going to get too big that we can no longer juggle all the balls and manage everything that's required in our business. So we stop being able to do everything that's needed for our business to be successful. Right? Most folks have the mentality of, I'll just work harder. But again, our time runs out and we just simply can't do anymore. So here's where the formula for success comes in, the magic of it, the B part. So we need to be the type of business owner that is able to do the things required in our business in order for it to be successful, to provide for the things that we want to have in life. So instead of working harder, we need to learn to work smarter. Right? We need to learn to become the business owner that can run the business the way that I just talked through in the 6 steps, right? To build a commercial profitable enterprise that can run without you, the business owner. We need to become the type of business owner that can recruit and retain exceptional employees to run the day-to-day. We need to become the type of business owner that can invest in systems and processes and procedures and technologies to make the organization run more efficiently and effectively. We need to become the type of business owner that can inspire and motivate our team, that can set a strategic direction for the organization, that can put the goals in place and the plans, the action plans in place, and manage and motivate our team in order to take the business to where it needs to go. So our focus needs to become on learning how to work smarter, not harder, learning how to be an exceptional business owner as opposed to a great doer. Then Brad Sugar states that where you'll be in 5 years will depend on the books you read, the people you associate with, and the actions you take. So in business, like in life, right? Let's think of a tree, for example. A tree is either growing or it's dying, right? There's no such thing as a tree being at status quo. Right? So the same thing applies to your business. Your business is either growing or it's dying. There's no such thing as a business staying in status quo. So you will become the average of the 5 business owners you spend the most time with. So think about, what books are you reading to associate yourself with great business owners? What videos are you watching? What seminars are you attending or conferences? Right? Who are you surrounding yourself with to make sure that you are growing and developing as a business owner? And then finally, Tiger Woods says, no matter how tough you think you are, you can't do this on your own. And he's discussing the value of his coach and his support team. You think about any aspiring athlete, any successful athlete, they have at least one coach, and most have multiple coaches. And the reason that they have coaches is they know, like Tiger said, is you can't do it on your own. Right? There are too many things that are required of you as a business owner to be at the top of your game that just simply not able to do it on your own. Right? So you think about folks, they outsource things like their accounting to a CPA. Right? They outsource things like their banking, right? Because these are areas of expertise that the business owner doesn't have. So the same thing should apply with how to run a great business. Right? Why wouldn't you outsource or bring in a business coach to help you learn how to run an exceptional business, especially knowing that there's a return on investment, as I shared earlier? All right, so now let's think back to the goal that you set at the beginning of this webinar. Did everyone learn at least one thing? Fantastic. How about 3 things? Okay, that's wonderful. Thank you. So, since we're all about taking action at Action Coach, I want you to write down your number 1 learning from today, and then more importantly, the number 1 action that you're going to take to apply that learning to move your business forward. Okay, so go ahead and write that down. Okay. All right. So remember at the beginning of the webinar, I mentioned that I'd be giving you an offer that you'd be crazy not to take advantage of. Well, there's 2 directions that you can go at this point. The first is to say, hey, Tim, thank you so much for this information. I love what I learned. I got a tremendous amount of value out of this. I took a ton of notes and I'm going to give it a go on my own. Or for those of you who want to get massive results, you might be asking, how do I get more details about what you learned today? So this is what we do. As your business coach, I work with you to implement the 6 steps and the 5 ways that we just talked through in your business. I become your uncomfortable friend who pushes you when you need a kick in the butt, who confronts you when you're in blame, excuses, and denial, and who reminds you of your end goal when things get tough and you want to quit. Because yes, business is hard and there will be times that you want to quit. Just like a sports coach who continually pushes folks to excel, you would have hired me to do the same with you so that you can achieve the business successes you want to be able to realize the personal dreams you have. So as your coach, I won't give up on you and I won't let you give up on yourself. So if you choose the second option, if you want massive results and you're ready to do whatever it takes to get there, I have a special offer for you. As a thank you for watching this virtual seminar or this webinar, everyone can have a complimentary coaching session with me valued at $1,500. So I have a limited number of these sessions that I offer each month. So if you're ready to take your business to the next level, you'll want to get on this right away. So the way that these work, it starts with a brief questionnaire, and then we'll meet for 2 hours to do a deep dive into your business, to understand opportunities and challenges, to show you some strategies, to further explain how the 6 steps and the 5 ways would more specifically work within your business, and then ultimately to help you determine if coaching's right for you. And if we both agree that it makes sense, I'll ask you to make a decision about which coaching program is right for you. Look, my passion is growing businesses and coaching business leaders. So I guarantee that in that complimentary coaching session, you're going to walk away with at least one strategy that you can implement in your business immediately, even if you decide that coaching is not right for you. If you want to take advantage of the complimentary coaching session, please send me a message, email me. My email address is there on the screen, and I'll get you scheduled for that right away. Remind you here that it's time to take action. So make sure that you've written down your number one learning. Make sure that you've written down how you're going to apply it to your business right away. Many people fail to follow through at this point because they don't have someone to hold them accountable. So if you don't have an accountability partner or you don't have someone to hold you accountable, you want to make sure that you get that implemented right away so that you don't just write this learning down and it becomes a dust pile on your desk. So thank you so much for your time. I appreciate you joining me today. And if you do have any questions after the fact, please let me know. I'm just looking here on any questions that came up throughout the conversation, and I don't see any right now. So thank you all very much, and have yourself a wonderful day. And again, if you want to take advantage of that complimentary coaching session, please email me and we'll set that up. Thanks, and have a great day. Take care.